Hey there everybody, and in this one we're going to be looking at how we're going to query stuff from the database and probably like get data back to the user. So first of all, what exactly I want to do is you're going to be able to input your username, input a password, and the database is going to check for whoever that user is and return like the balance, the name, whatever that is. Okay, so before we continue, first of all I want you to go to the models.py and we're going to remove this username, this nickname column from here. So here we're going to put in balance, and balance is going to be equal to a float field, models dot flow field, and in here the default is going to be 0. Okay, I think 0.0 here, that's because it's a float field. So I think you get the point. Before we continue, we actually have a mess of a database because we have a lot of people that have the same names and the same pin. So I'm going to get rid of that first of all. And as we have added this balance here to the database, we need to make migrations and migrate. So essentially what that is doing is it's going to remove the column that is named nickname and add a column that is named balance. So that's what the make migrations and migrate is doing, just so that our database will be up to date with the latest data, so that even if you have data already in there, you can just switch up some columns, which is quite nice in my opinion. So what we'll do is Python manage.py make migrations. As you can see, it shows me no changes detected because I've already done this before. But if you do it now, you should see like it added a new column there. So the next one we're going to do is Python manage.py migrate, and that should add all our columns in there. Then you can see that it created a db.sqlite here, and if you go over here, the user account is empty and we have a new column called balance. So I think that should be good. So what we need to do now is create another view that is going to help us get the user's data, I guess. So you go over to index. I'm going to duplicate this, so I'm going to copy and paste, and I'm going to rename this to view-account. I'm going to leave everything the same because only the person with his password that is supposed to be able to access his own accounts, that kind of thing. So I'm going to get rid of this, get rid of this. Okay, so the view we're going to create is called view_account, and in here we're going to pass in the request as usual. Then we're going to return, first of all, render, then request, comma, the template we want to use. So the template is view-account.html. Don't worry about all these things that are showing yellow on my file names. It's because of Git, so don't just worry about that. I think we should be all good now. Let's just test it out by doing manage.py run server, and if we go to our browser, we should see, oh sorry, we haven't connected it to a URL. So come over here in the path, we're just going to put in a view account path there. As you can see, it's connected to views_account route. So if we go back here and refresh this, go over to /view account, you should see the same route. So to differentiate that, since we just copied the file, we go over here and we just going to create the h1 tag, which is going to say view account. I think that should differentiate it enough now. So now it's time to go over here and do the functionality for querying data from the database. So we're going to actually copy everything here now. If the method is post, we want to get the username the person inputs, get the password, and also in here we're going to now query. First of all, you can do user equal to user account dot object dot filter. In the filter here, we're going to put in username equal to username, and essentially what this is doing is it's going to get everything in the database that has this username that you input here. Whatever the user input is going to get everything in the database that has that same username. So the next thing we want to do is also search for that particular pin. So what we can do is pin equal to password. So password is actually what we named this variable, and that's what it's collecting from the user. So every user that has the username to be whatever the user input as the username, and also the pin should be equal to the pin the user put. So whatever that is, we're going to get a list of everything in the database like that. In our case, it will most likely be only one. Then we're going to do the first, and the first is going to get the first element, or should I say like the first row that it sees in the database. If it doesn't see any row, it's going to return a none. So the user now is going to be equal to none if it doesn't find the user. Okay, so with all that said, I want to show you something new that I haven't shown you before, which is the JSON response. And the JSON response is quite similar to the HTTP response, but it helps you return JSON. So as you can see over here, we have gotten the user object successfully. So I can do return, and we can do JSON response. And in here, we're going to pass in a dictionary that contains name, and that will be mapped to user name. And the next one will be balance, and that will be mapped to user balance. I can also decide to put in the pin here, so I can just do a comma here and say pin also be mapped to user pin. So I think that should be good. So remember, we deleted the database, so we don't have the original users in there. So we're going to put in the users again. So go back here, go over here, put a username dev, and put like 6789. Oh, yeah, 6789 as the pin, and submit that. Hopefully that added to the database, I guess. Then we also want to add Davis dev, and let's just say 1290 and submit. So hopefully if we check the db.sqlite to go over to base user account, we have those two guys in there. I'm going to close that up and go to /view account, and here I can type in Davis dev, and if I put in the right password 1290 and I submit, okay, we have a problem. You see object has no attribute name. Yeah, that's true, because over here is not meant to be user.name, it's username, because that's the name of the column. Okay, so we come back here. If I just press Ctrl R and hit continue, you can see that we get the pin back, the balance back, and everything back. If you want to check that for dev, you can also do that dev. And if I put in a very wrong password, if I submit, you're going to see it actually gives me an error, because we don't handle that error here. And user is going to be equal to none, and it's not going to be able to find the username, and plenty stuff will just be happening. So we can just say if user, if not user, that's just saying if user is none, then we want to return JSON response, or let's say HTTP response, and in here we'll just say wrong input, I guess. So I think that should be good. If I go back and put in a wrong password again, submit, you can see wrong input there. So I think that should be it for querying from the database. I hope you get the whole concept and the whole process. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.